Coming up next on Hooten's Arkansas football, highlights from week 9 of the high school season, including the 5AA North Championship game between Carlisle and Harding Academy, the 6AA showdown between Barton and Hazen, a key 4 AAA matchup between Dardanelle and Clarksville, and Morrilton fighting for a playoff spot against Greenwood. Highlights of those games and many more is 30 minutes of high school fun next on Hooten's Arkansas football.
You make sure you're physical.
Well, I'm riding on the ball game.
Get that blood in your eyes and you play with heart.
We're just 1 week away from the playoffs. It's hard to believe the regular season is almost over. I'm Chad Hooten. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Hooten's Arkansas football on UPN 10. We have highlights from all around the state, including in Northwest Arkansas. Some big games last night. A big one in Clarksville between the Dardanelle Sand Lizards and those Panthers, plus a big game in Charleston last night as Shiloh Christian came to town, and up in Bentonville where the Cyclones took on the undefeated Tigers. Highlights, pregame pep talks, postgame reaction, the latest Hooten's rankings. It's all coming up here in the next 30 minutes on UPN 10. And in case you tuned in last week and had a little trouble, saw the technical difficulties, tonight, immediately following this show, we will air last week's show from 10:30 to 11. So it's really 60 minutes of Hooten's Arkansas football. We're glad you tuned in, and we'll get started with highlights from week 9 of the regular season and start with Class 2A next on Hooten's Arkansas football.
Hooten's Arkansas football is brought to you by First Security Bank, by Landers, by Sonic, by Arkansas Heart Hospital, by First Baptist Church of Springdale and the Church at Pinnacle Hills, by Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield, by Alltel, by USA Drug, and by the Arkansas Hospital Association. Now, more of Hooten's Arkansas football, brought to you by Sonic.
And we begin our Class 2A highlights in Hazen, where last night the Hornets played host to Barton. And here's a look at Hooten's Arkansas football Class 2A rankings. Shiloh Christian is still on top. The Saints played without both of their starting defensive tackles last night and still beat 4AA champion Charleston by 3 touchdowns. Hampton holds on to number 2, and Harmony Grove is number 3. This year's sleeper team from the 7AA East, the Hornets will be hard to handle. Harmony Grove travels to Carlisle probably in the second round. That means an excellent football team's season will be over way too soon. Carlisle has its best team since 1999 when it advanced to the state finals. Rising is probably the number 4 seed from that tough 7AA East. That means they'll play Mineral Springs. Rising likely headed to Mineral Springs in the first round, and a very good football team. Again, their season will be over too soon. Harding Academy is number 7. Harding had its chances to win at Carlisle last night, but 5 turnovers were too many to overcome. Junction City is number 8, and as the likely number 3 seed from the 7AA East, the Dragons won't face a passing team until the state semifinals, and that's a good thing. Charleston's number 9 and Danville's number 10. Is Barton still the king in the 6AA? Is the Delta flat? The Bears manhandled Hazen last night from the get-go. Murfreesboro's 12, then it's Hazen, Desert, and Bauxite. As the top seed from the 5AA South, the Miners have a pretty sweet playoff draw. Foreman 16, then it's Augusta. They get a shot at Carlisle next week. Greenwood's 18, Hector 19, and Marked Tree Indians at number 20. Coming up next on Hooten's Arkansas Football, Class 3A highlights. And a little bit later, we'll take you to Cabot for this week's Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Now, more of Hooten's Arkansas Football, brought to you by Arkansas Heart Hospital.
In the 5AAA, everyone is chasing Pulaski Academy. And last night, Oak Grove played host to Beebe with the number 2 playoff seed on the line in that conference. Late in the second quarter, Oak Grove is up 14-0 when quarterback Matt Cruz heaves it 39 yards to Marcus Bobbitt. A couple of plays later, it's C.C. Mason bulling his way in for the touchdown, and the Hornets led 21-0. Just like magic, Bobbitt brings his act to defense, picking off Beebe quarterback Jeremy Lindsay. The Beebe linebacker Matt Whitfield returns the favor as he ends Oak Grove's drive with the interception. Oak Grove had enough to go on and win, though, and the Hornets capture the number 2 playoff seed. In 2 weeks, the Hornets play host to Hughes in their first home playoff game since 1984. Final score, Oak Grove 28, Beebe 12. Lone Oak has itself in an unfamiliar position this year. The Jackrabbits are looking up at Dollarway, Brinkley, and Hughes in the 6 AAA standings. Last night, the Jackrabbits needed a win over visiting Dumas just to secure the conference's final playoff spot. But on the first drive of the game, it's Dumas with the look of a playoff team. The Bobcats used 8 plays, capped by Jason Jordan's 25-yard touchdown run to give Dumas a 6-0 lead. In the second quarter, Lone Oak tries its running game. Fred Jackson picks up a first down, but is then turned upside down by Dumas linebacker Anthony Gray. The Bobcats ran the ball in the final 3 quarters and shut down Lone Oak late in the game. Final score, Dumas Bobcats 20, Lone Oak 13.
Put yourself in a situation to get it done. Focus and what? Finish. Focus and what? Finish. What? Finish. Refuse to lose, folks. Refuse to lose. Grab hold, somebody. Let's go.
That's Clarksville's coach Michael Banning preparing his Panthers for a key 4 AAA battle against visiting Dardanelle last night. The winner probably secured home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. The defense is dominated early as Dardanelle's Bruce Cannerday drops the Panthers for a loss. And Clarksville's Morgan Morris and Michael Willis combined for the sack of Dardanelle. Then the quarterbacks took over as Dardanelle's Clay Mitchell gets the Sand Lizards out of the hole with the toss to Drew Lappinghouse, but the drive would stall. Clarksville's signal caller, Ricky Williams, keeps for some good yardage. Then Williams will roll right and find Chris Muldoon. That would set up a big field goal. Watch this, 42 yards. Pierce Curran kicks it, and it'll bounce over the crossbar. Good from 42 yards out for Clarksville. The rest of the game belonged to Panther running back Ray Rideout. Ray rushed for 241 yards last night, including this short touchdown run in the first quarter, and Clarksville holds on to set up a big game next week for the conference championship against Boonville. Final score from last night, Panthers 16, Dardanelle 7. Boonville is ranked number 3 by Hooten's Arkansas Football in its Class 3A rankings. Warren, of course, is number 1. The Lumberjacks won last night to earn their first conference title since 1963. Gosnell is quietly 9-0 this year. Clarksville's number 6, then it's Ashdown and Fordyce. The Redbugs got a big win at Star City last night, 17-13. That means Fordyce is headed to the playoffs. Dardanelle is number 9, and Nashville's back in the top 10. The Scrappers will finish second in the 7 AAA and could be headed to the semis with a sweet draw. Yellville Summit starts the second 10, then it's Hamburg. Prairie Grove is undefeated this year. The Tigers will play host to either Ozark or Waldron in the first round of the playoffs. DeQueen's number 14, and there's Oak Grove, which has beat everybody this year except Pulaski Academy. The Redskins are 16, then it's Brinkley and Star City. The Bulldogs make the playoffs if they win next week at Dermont. Beebe is number 19, and Bald Knob rounds out the top 20. Coming up next, Class 4A highlights on Hooten's Arkansas football.
Now, more of Hooten's Arkansas football, brought to you by Landers.
Before moving up to Class 5A next year, Watson Chapel will be in the 4A playoffs for a 4th consecutive year. Night to help its playoff hopes, and in a classic 4A West matchup, it was the Devil Dogs against Greenwood. And when Greenwood's Kyle McGreeny wouldn't be denied on this 4th down touchdown late in the game, we were headed to overtime at Devil Dog Stadium. McGreeny wasn't finished, though, in the first overtime. He takes the Kirby Vitale screen pass 10 yards for a bruising touchdown. Then McGreeny, they call him Bluefoot, added his 5th extra point of the game, and the Bulldogs led 35-28. Morrilton responded, though. Senior quarterback Keith Stovall finds classmate Kevin Foster across the middle. Matt Petroff nails the pressure kick for Morrilton. That tied it at 35. But the Devil Dog celebration was short-lived as Stovall races for the corner of the end zone, and the Bulldogs force the fumble in the second overtime. Greenwood wouldn't take any chances, going immediately to McGreeny. And he comes in, splits the upright. Bluefoot wins it with the 26-yard game winner. Final score, Greenwood 38, Morrilton 35.
You guys did it! Yeah! Yes! You got behind, you came back, you stuck it to them, and you won it! Yeah!
Well, we've been running that screen all night, and they've been over it a little bit, but our lineman got out in front, got me a big hole, and I just did the rest, got in the end zone. I knew I saw the zone, and I was going for it, so I went all the way in. I just, all my heart, I went in.
Next week, McGreeny and the Blue Dogs face old rival Alma in a big game in the 4A West. Alma's ranked just behind Hope and just ahead of Osceola in Hooten's Arkansas football Class 4A rankings. Osceola takes on Wynn next week in the 4A East title game. Searcy's number 5, and the Lions are followed by 4 teams from the southeast: Monticello, Stuttgart, and Watson Chapel. Then it's Greenwood, Magnolia, Arkadelphia starts the second 10. If Siloam Springs can win next week against Harrison, the Panthers will make their first playoff appearance since 1995. Newport and Batesville play their grudge match next Friday, and the winner will be the number 3 seed from the East. Crossit knocked off Monticello last night, and Crossit is back in playoff contention. Morrilton needs some help to make postseason play. They're followed by the Golden Goblins, then it's West Helena and Malvern at number 20. Coming up next, more of Hooten's Arkansas football, Class 5A highlights, including the big showdown from Benton County. Next.
Now, more of Hooten's Arkansas football, brought to you by First Security Bank.
We'll begin our Class 5A highlights in the West, where at least a share of the conference title was on the line last night as Russellville rolled into undefeated Bentonville. The Cyclones are in position to win the Rugged West because their defense is so improved. Both defenses were playing well early, but it was Russellville's D that scored 2 touchdowns last night and forced 4 turnovers, including a Bentonville fumble to set up the game's first score. Mitch Knuckles and Horatio Collin tag team on the hit, and sophomore Tyler Luke falls on it for Russellville. Slippery sophomore Tracy Steiger, watch this run, dodging and jumping his way to set up the touchdown. It's Cyclone quarterback Landon Leach. Good protection most of the night. He completed 19 of 30 passes for 205 yards. This 24-yard toss to Aaron Williams made it 7-0, and Russellville never trailed. Final score, Cyclones 32, Bentonville 6. Pine Bluff was undefeated 2 weeks ago and hollering at the Hootens for respect. But now the Zebras have lost 2 straight. Last week in Texarkana and last night against preseason conference favorite El Dorado. Pine Bluff's James Iverson picking up good yardage against the Wildcats on the reverse and coming right at you here. Then it's Zebra quarterback Omar Blunt dumping it to Michael Williams, but he'll get the ball stripped by El Dorado's Chafin Brock, and the Wildcats recover. Pine Bluff actually led 7-6 at halftime, but the Wildcats returned the third quarter kickoff 95 yards and didn't look back. They will play host to Texarkana for the 5A South title next week. Final score from last night, El Dorado 38, Pine Bluff 13. Little Rock Catholic kept its playoff hopes alive by beating 1-8 Little Rock Hall last night. Jake Purvis's run to the 1-yard line set up this quarterback keeper by Mark Eversman. That put Catholic up 21-6, and the Rockets could have used a win by 13 points or more, but Hall scored late. The final, Catholic 21, Hall 14. This is what a winless team looks like. North Little Rock fumbling the reverse handoff, and Little Rock Parkview's defense all over it. Parkview takes the turnover and turns it into points. Leonard Hall scores for the Patriots, who picked up their 3rd win of the season last night. Final score, Parkview 14, 0-9, North Little Rock 7. Cabot is again the 5A East Conference champion, regardless of what happens next week. Jacksonville's loss at West Memphis, combined with Cabot's win over Jonesboro last night, secured the title trophy for the Panthers, who scored early and often against Jonesboro. Quarterback Stephen Perry's keeper made it 7-0 Cabot. Then in the second quarter, Ryan Bayless, the first man through, makes it 14-0. Bayless will score again before halftime, taking the pitch from Bayless 6 yards to make it 20-0. Bayless would finish with 113 yards on the night, including a 72-yard sprint for another score, and Cabot hammers the Hurricane. Final score, Panthers 41, Jonesboro 6. Little Rock Central is headed to the playoffs. Last night, the Tigers held McClellan's anemic offense to just 22 yards in the first half. Linebacker Blaine Siegel takes down line quarterback Keon McDuffie. Central quarterback Josh Sullivan had a little more time to work and finds big play man Keith Williams in the corner of the end zone for a 35-yard score. Central tailback Dedrick Poole didn't start due to a hamstring injury, but he did play and looked pretty good too. The final score, Central 14, McClellan 7. And here is a look at Hooten's Arkansas football Class 5A rankings. How about those Cyclones? Russellville was voted by the coaches in the West to finish dead last. Instead, Russellville's undefeated in league play and can win the outright West title by beating Van Buren, getting a little revenge from a Week 10 loss last year. Cabot is strong at number 2. Springdale has scored 80 points the past 2 weeks, and Bentonville drops to number 4. Texarkana may be the best team in the South. We'll find out next week when the Razorbacks visit El Dorado. Bryant has to beat Benton to get in the playoffs. Conway starts the second 10, then it's Central, Northside, Lake Hamilton, and Mountain Home. Van Buren is 16, followed by Mills, West Memphis, and Little Rock McClellan. Jacksonville still has playoff hopes, but the Red Devils must play number 2 Cabot Thursday night.
Now, the Marine Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Cabot senior Josh Green can do it all. Halfback, receiver, corner, or in the classroom. Wherever you put him, he excels. And because Chad Hooten picked against the Panthers late in the playoffs last season, Green has a little message for Mr. Hooten.
He's learning. He finally got it last year, but he'll come around later this season.
I'll make sure he gets the message. Congratulations to Josh Green, our Marines Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Thanks a lot, Mark, and congratulations to those Cabot Panthers. Hey, they're headed to the playoffs for an 11th consecutive year, but unlike last season, Cabot will not have the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. This year, they may have to play a team from the West on the road. And thank you for watching Hooten's Arkansas football tonight. We will be back next Saturday night at 10 o'clock on UPN. And for those of you who tried to see last week's show, didn't get it because of the technical difficulty, remember, we're going to replay that coming up next from 10:30 to 11 here on UPN. Hope to see you next Saturday night here on Hooten's Arkansas football.
You make sure you're physical.
A lot riding on the ball game.
Get that blood in your eye and you play with heart.